I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine standing in front of a person who has spent years feeding on your doubts, shaping your world to fit their comfort, and convincing you that you would collapse without them. Now imagine the moment you finally rise, and for the first time, they realize they cannot control you anymore. That moment is not loud, it is not violent, it is not dramatic, it is quiet, it is powerful, and it is real. Because when you defeat a narcissist for real, the battlefield is not outside you, it is inside you. And when you reclaim that territory, they feel it long before you say a single word. You will notice the first sign the moment they fall silent, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have lost the one thing they thought they owned, your reaction. That silence is not peace, it is panic wearing a mask. Then you will see them reach for an old trick, the rewriting of the past. They will try to twist your truth, reshape your memories, and convince you that your victory never existed. That effort is not strength. It is the exhaustion of someone who realizes their story no longer controls your steps. You may even watch them gather people around them, not out of companionship, but out of fear. They need witnesses, they need allies, they need anyone who can make you question yourself again. But when you stand in your truth, their army loses its power. And there is a moment when they change direction completely. Suddenly they become kind, generous, patient. They may offer peace. They may offer apologies. They may offer the version of themselves you always wished for. Do not be fooled. That is not transformation. That is negotiation. They are not honoring your strength. They are trying to buy it back. But when that fails, and it often does, you will see the anger they tried to hide. Not because you hurt them, but because you exposed them. You revealed the one truth they cannot accept, that their control was an illusion built on your willingness to shrink. They may play the victim next. They may cry, blame, accuse, and spiral, all in the hope that guilt will pull you back into the old cycle. But guilt loses its grip once you see who you are without their shadow. And even as you move forward, they will watch you. They will study your steps, monitor your progress, and try to predict when your strength might slip. But the truth is simple. You are not the same person they once manipulated. You outgrew the cage they built. In the end, they will try one last thing, the provocation. A comment, a gesture, a rumor, anything to make you react, because if they can trigger you, they can convince themselves they still matter, but you do not fall for that anymore. You are not fighting them, you are protecting your peace. So if you ever wonder whether you truly defeated a narcissist, remember this. Victory is not when they break. Victory is when you stop bending. Victory is when the story of your life is written by your strength, not their control. And victory is when you can walk away without closing your heart to the world, because you finally understand that real power is quiet, steady, and born from a courage they never expected you to find. And you found it. When you finally defeat a narcissist, the first sign does not explode into the room. It slips in quietly, almost like a shadow moving across the floor. It comes in the form of silence. A silence so unfamiliar, so unexpected, that a part of you pauses and wonders if you misheard something. Because this person, the one who always had something to say, something to accuse, something to correct, suddenly has nothing. And that silence is not peace. It is not understanding, it is not respect, it is the sound of their power collapsing in their own hands. You may not notice it at first, because your brain has been trained to brace for their next reaction. For so long you were conditioned to listen for the smallest shift in their tone, prepare for the next guilt trip, anticipate the next demand. Your mind learned to survive by reading their storms before they formed. But this time, there is no storm. There is no lightning behind their eyes, no mocking laughter waiting beneath their breath. All you feel is a strange emptiness in the space where their voice used to dominate your world. And then it hits you. Their silence is not for you, it is for them. It is their mind scrambling, their ego shaking, their confidence cracking, because they just felt you take back something they never expected you to reclaim, your power. Silence is the first language of a defeated narcissist. It is the moment when they must face the reality they spent years avoiding. They are no longer the center of your emotions. They no longer control your reactions. They no longer pull the strings of your self-worth, and the absence of those strings terrifies them. You need to understand something important. Narcissists do not fall apart when you shout. They do not collapse when you argue. They do not break when you try to expose their flaws. Those are battles they believe they can win because chaos is their home. They thrive in confusion. They survive off your emotional exhaustion. They feed on the energy you burn, trying to make them understand you. But when you stop playing the game, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop responding to their provocations, something inside them sinks because they realize the spotlight is no longer on them. They realize the script they wrote for your life is no longer being followed. And most of all, they realize that you have stepped out of the cage they kept you in and the door is locked from the outside. Think back on all the times you tried to stand up for yourself. You raised your voice, they raised theirs higher. You tried to reason, they twisted your words until you ended up apologizing. You stepped back, they stepped closer. You tried to hold your boundaries. They acted offended, wounded, betrayed, until you questioned your own feelings. And every time, their noise won. Their voice drowned out your clarity. Their certainty smothered your doubt. Their aggression overshadowed your truth. But then you reached a moment they never saw coming. A moment where your strength did not show up as anger or frustration, but as calm. You stopped reacting. You stopped explaining. You stopped seeking approval. You simply stood in your truth, and that was the moment the world shifted. Your silence was not weakness. Your silence was not surrender. Your silence was the announcement of a new version of you, one they could no longer predict, manipulate, or control. And when a narcissist sees that version of you, their words disappear, their attitude withdraws, their pride trembles. They lose the script of who they believed you were. You might see them staring at you differently, studying your face with confusion, trying to calculate their next move, but unable to find an angle because the old strategies no longer fit. You are not entertaining their drama. You are not defending yourself. You are not bending to keep the peace. You are simply standing in your dignity, and that is the one thing they never prepared for. Their silence becomes a confession of defeat. Not openly, not verbally, not in a way that gives you closure. Narcissists do not hand out closure, but the silence is enough. It is the first sign that the power dynamic has changed. It is the moment when they realize that the story they wrote for you has a new author now, you. And here is the part you need to remember. Their silence is not a sign to go back, to comfort them, to fill the void, to apologize for your strength, or to soothe their fragile ego. You have spent enough of your life doing that. Their silence is a sign to keep going. It is a sign that your growth is working. It is proof that your healing is real. It is confirmation that their grip on your mind has loosened. The silence means something deeper. It means they feel the shift in your energy, the boundaries in your posture, the certainty in your voice. They sense that the part of you that used to fear losing them is gone. They see the part of you that always wanted to be understood has finally chosen to understand yourself instead. And that terrifies them more than any argument ever could. Their silence is your victory, even if they never admit it. It is the universe placing a mirror in front of them and forcing them to see what they can no longer touch. And you deserve that moment. You earned that moment. Because rising from a narcissist's control is one of the hardest battles a human heart can fight, and the quiet you hear now is not their peace, it is your liberation. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you never go back. There comes a moment after you break free from a narcissist when something almost unbelievable happens. Instead of accepting the truth, instead of acknowledging your strength, they begin rewriting the entire past. Not parts of it, not moments of it, but the whole story. And they do it with a confidence that would almost be impressive if you did not know the cost of it. Because this rewriting of history is not about memory. It is about control. It is their attempt to steal your victory and replace it with a narrative that keeps them in power. You will notice it first in small ways. The things they once said loudly, boldly, shamelessly, they now deny as if they never happened. The promises they broke suddenly become promises they never made. The moments where you stepped up in strength become moments they claim you exaggerated. The pain they caused becomes something you misunderstood. It is like watching someone take scissors to a photograph of your life, cutting out every part that exposes who they really are. And they do all of this with such confidence that if you were still in your old mindset, you might have believed them. For so long, you trusted their version of events more than your own. You questioned your reality, doubted your emotions, and second-guessed your intuition because they trained you to believe that their memory was more accurate, their perspective more valid, their interpretation more intelligent. They convinced you that your truth was unstable, while theirs was the only foundation that mattered. But something is different now. You are awake, you are present, you are no longer living inside the story they wrote. So when they begin rewriting history, you do not fold the way you used to. You do not apologize for things you never did. You do not shrink when they attempt to twist your words. You do not chase after them trying to get them to understand. Instead, you stand steady. And in that steadiness, they feel something they rarely feel, fear. They fear the truth, your truth, because your truth exposes the cracks in their performance. It dismantles the illusion they created not only for you, but for themselves. A narcissist cannot survive in a world where they are not the hero, the victim, or the genius. They cannot accept a version of the past where their actions cause pain. Their ego is too fragile for accountability. So they reconstruct the past until they are innocent, powerful, and blameless. But what they do not expect is that you are no longer the same person who once accepted their rewritten stories. You no longer bend under the pressure of their confidence. You no longer trade your truth for their approval. You no longer fear the consequences of disagreement. And when you do not fall back into the old roles, they start panicking beneath the surface. They may accuse you of overreacting because they need you to believe your emotions are unreliable. They may claim you misunderstood them because they need you to doubt your clarity. They may insist you are remembering incorrectly because if your memory is questioned, theirs becomes the default. They may even bring up other people, insisting everyone agrees with their version of events. This is not honesty, it is strategy. But you have something now that you did not have before. You have perspective. When you stepped out of their influence, you gained distance. That distance is what allows you to see the reality they spent years trying to blur. You have grown strong enough to trust your own mind again. Your memory is clearer. Your intuition is sharper. Your emotional intelligence is deeper. And most importantly, your self-respect is finally loud enough to drown out their manipulation. Every time they try to rewrite history, you feel a quiet strength rise inside you. Not anger, not bitterness, not revenge, a deep, grounded strength. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and what you lived through. The kind that comes from healing. The kind that cannot be shaken by someone who once controlled your world. This strength shows up in the way you speak. You speak calmly, you speak clearly, you do not argue from desperation anymore, you do not explain your truth hoping they will value it. You speak your truth for yourself, not for their understanding. And that shift changes everything. They notice it too. They notice that their words no longer have the same effect on you. They notice that you do not react the way you used to. They notice that their revisions do not erase your memory anymore. And it unsettles them, because the moment they lose the ability to define your reality is the moment they lose the power they treasured most. So they keep rewriting, not because it is working, but because it is all they know. They cannot stand in the truth with you because the truth would require accountability, responsibility, and self-reflection. These are things a narcissist avoids like fire. So instead of facing who they are, they retreat into fiction. But that fiction cannot hold power over someone who has learned to trust themselves again. As they rewrite your history, you rewrite your future. You rebuild your sense of self. You begin to understand the strength you found was not born from their approval, but from your resilience. You start seeing how far you have come. You recognize that you no longer live in their world, and that alone is a victory greater than anything they could ever erase. Your truth does not need to be loud. It does not need to be defended at every turn. It simply needs to be honored by you. Because the moment you choose your truth over their revision is the moment you step into the kind of power that cannot be taken, twisted, or rewritten. And in that moment, you realize something profound. You did not just defeat their manipulation. You defeated the version of yourself that once depended on their story to feel whole. Now you create your story. You define your narrative. You speak your truth without fear. And that is the one thing a narcissist can never rewrite. There comes a moment in your journey of breaking free when something strange, almost disorienting, happens. After all the chaos, the blame, the rage, the manipulation, the person you finally stood up to suddenly becomes gentle. Their voice softens. Their tone changes. Their eyes look calmer, almost warm. They speak with patience you have never seen from them. They offer kindness as if it has always been there. And for a moment, a part of you pauses because it feels comforting. It feels familiar. It feels like the version of them you always hoped would appear someday. But you must understand the truth behind this shift. That kindness is not healing. It is strategy. It is their last attempt to regain control the moment they sense it slipping from their hands. Narcissists are masters of timing, and they know exactly when your strength is beginning to rise. They can feel when your heart is finally stepping out of their shadow, so they reach for the one tool they believe can still pull you back. Sweetness, not genuine sweetness, not kindness born from transformation, a calculated softness designed to reopen the door you finally closed. They will suddenly praise the same qualities they once criticized. They will suddenly respect the boundaries they previously mocked. They will suddenly say they understand you, they value you, they appreciate you. They may even call it growth, they may call it change, they may call it love. But if you watch closely, you will see that nothing is truly different. They are not evolving, they are negotiating. This sudden kindness appears only when your strength threatens their control. And deep down, you feel it. You feel the shift inside yourself, the rise of your self-respect, the clarity in your voice, the peace in your choices. They feel it too. And they know if they do not act quickly, they will lose the influence they worked so hard to build over you. So they try to pull you back with the one thing they withheld when they had power, affection. They might send messages that sound thoughtful. They might speak with humility you never imagined they possessed. They might offer help, support, attention, or warmth they never previously gave. They want you to breathe in the comfort, to soften your stance, to question your decision, to reconsider the distance. They hope that just one gentle moment will be enough to weaken the boundary you fought so hard to create. It can be tempting to believe them. You are human. You have a heart. You care deeply, even if it hurt you. There were nights you begged for this version of them, mornings you prayed for a simple apology, moments you wish they could just understand your pain. So when they finally speak with gentleness, a part of you feels seen, a part of you feels hopeful, a part of you wonders if maybe, just maybe, this is the person you were waiting for all along. But you must look with clear eyes. This kindness arrived only after you stopped reacting, only after you stopped explaining, only after you stopped giving them emotional access to your soul. They did not change because they saw the harm they caused. They changed because they saw the consequences of losing you. You can test this truth without saying a word. Keep your boundaries firm. Keep your energy steady. Keep your heart aligned with your healing. Watch what happens when their kindness no longer pulls you back. You will see the sweetness fade. You will see the patience thin. You will see the understanding crumble. Because their kindness was never meant to heal the relationship, it was meant to restore their control. Narcissists do not offer true growth, they offer bargains. They offer temporary softness with the intention of emotional repayment. They offer calmness only if your compliance returns. They offer affection only if it leads you back to the role they crafted for you. And the moment they realize it is not working, the moment they see that you are no longer swayed by their tone, their mask begins to slip. You may see frustration flicker in their eyes. You may hear tension beneath their sweet words. You may notice uncertainty creeping into their voice. That is the sound of their strategy failing. That is the moment they recognize something powerful inside you has awakened. You are no longer depending on their approval. You are no longer desperate for their validation. You are no longer willing to sacrifice your peace for their comfort. You have outgrown the version of yourself that once believed their affection was the key to your worth. What you need to understand is this: their sudden kindness does not diminish your progress. It confirms it. They are not soft because they care. They are soft because you have become strong. Their tone changed because your identity changed. Their approach shifted because your energy no longer bends around their expectations. You hold a kind of strength now that they cannot manipulate. You hold clarity that cuts through their illusions. You hold a self-respect that refuses to be traded for temporary tenderness. And that strength is transforming the entire dynamic. Every time you hold your boundary, you teach your heart that it belongs to you. Every time you walk away from manipulation, you reclaim a piece of your power. Every time you choose truth over fantasy, you step deeper into the life you were meant to live. The kindness they offer is not for your healing. Your healing is happening because you no longer need their kindness to feel whole. You finally see that the love you deserved was never theirs to give. It was yours to discover within yourself. And now that you have found it, no manipulation disguised as affection can guide you back into the shadows you fought so hard to escape. There is a moment in your journey of breaking free when everything becomes strangely quiet. Not because the storm is over, but because the person who once created the storm has suddenly changed the weather. After the arguments, the guilt trips, the manipulation, the blame, the person who fought you at every turn suddenly becomes gentle, their voice softens, their eyes grow tender. Their words sound patient, understanding, almost warm. And for a moment, a part of you feels pulled toward that softness because it resembles the version of them you once dreamed they could be. But this shift is not love. It is not clarity. It is not transformation. It is strategy, executed with the precision of someone who refuses to lose control. A narcissist knows when their grip is slipping. They can feel it long before you say the words. They sense your strength the way a predator senses distance from its prey. And when they feel that distance, they do not fight harder, they charm harder. Kindness becomes their weapon. Not genuine kindness, but kindness designed to make you question yourself. They know sweetness opens doors faster than anger ever could. They know empathy, even fake empathy, can soften the scars they created. They know a gentle tone can quiet your doubts long enough to pull you back into their orbit. It is not affection. It is manipulation wearing perfume. You might see them suddenly become attentive, listening with a patience that feels unfamiliar. You might hear apologies that sound sincere, carefully crafted to land exactly where your heart still aches. You might witness them showing humility they never knew before, acknowledging small mistakes while avoiding the real ones. They might say they want to change, that they understand, that they never meant to hurt you. Yet if you watch closely, you will see something telling beneath their performance. They never acknowledge the impact. They only acknowledge enough to maintain connection. Their kindness is not an act of reflection. It is an act of preservation. They are trying to preserve their access to your emotions, your attention, your vulnerability, your loyalty, your forgiveness. They fear losing the version of you that once accepted less than you deserved. They fear the strength rising inside you that they cannot control. They fear your independence because independence breaks the chains they spent years tightening. Narcissists do not fear losing you. They fear losing their power over you. This unexpected kindness often arrives at the exact moment you finally feel your worth waking up. When you begin setting boundaries, they become gentle. When you stop engaging in arguments, they become calm. When you stop explaining yourself, they suddenly understand everything. When you stop running toward them, they start walking toward you. When you stand firm, they lean in with softness. This is not change. This is panic disguised as compassion. A narcissist studies you like a chessboard. They know which pieces to move to make you doubt your instincts. They know which words trigger your empathy. They know the memories that can weaken your resolve. They know the hope you once held that they might become better. And they use all of it to pull you back into the cycle you fought to escape. Their softness is not random. It is calculated. It is meant to make you say maybe they can change. It is meant to make you wonder if things could be better. It is meant to make you feel guilty for being strong. It is meant to make you hesitate, because hesitation is all they need to regain control. But this time, something inside you has shifted. You can feel the truth beneath their sweetness. You can sense the hollowness behind their gentle gestures. You can hear the tension that hides underneath their soft words. You can see that their kindness arrives only when your strength grows, never when your pain grows. And that is the difference. Real change is consistent. Real change begins when they have power, not only when they lose it. Real change is shown through actions, not temporary behavior designed to manipulate your emotions. Real change requires accountability. A narcissist does not seek accountability, they seek advantage. So you stand firm, you speak with clarity, you protect your peace, and you do not bend simply because their tone changed. You have bent enough in your life, you have accepted enough stories, excuses, promises, and apologies that never turned into anything meaningful. You know now that your heart deserves more than temporary tenderness that disappears the moment they regain control. As you maintain your boundaries, you notice their softness begin to crack. You notice their patience slipping. You notice their charm fading at the edges. You notice the frustration hiding behind their smile. Because their kindness was never meant to honor your growth. It was meant to reverse it. And when they see that their strategy is not working, when they realize you are no longer moved by their sweetness, something powerful happens. Their mask begins to fall. They become restless. They become inconsistent. They become irritated because they cannot understand how someone they once controlled so easily has suddenly become unshakable. What they do not realize is that the strength you have now did not come from them. It came from surviving them. It came from the nights you cried but kept going. It came from the moments you doubted yourself but still chose truth. It came from the courage you gained every time you embraced your worth, even when they tried to erase it. Their kindness is temporary, your growth is permanent. Their sweetness is a tactic, your clarity is a transformation. Their softness is a trap, your strength is freedom. You are not the person who once needed their validation to feel whole. You are not the person who once believed their affection was love. You are not the person who once saw their potential instead of their pattern. You have outgrown the version of yourself who stayed small to keep someone comfortable. Now you stand in your truth. Now you trust your intuition. Now you choose peace over chaos. Now you honor your healing over their charm. And because of that, their kindness no longer captures you. Your strength does. There is a moment in every journey of liberation when the world stands still, and you finally recognize the power that has been rising inside you all along. You look back at the path you walked, the pain you endured, the manipulation you survived, and you realize that the version of you who once accepted the bare minimum has become someone unrecognizable in the best possible way. You are no longer living in reaction to someone else's chaos. You are living in devotion to your own peace. And that is the moment your life begins to expand in ways you once believed were impossible. Because defeating a narcissist is not about winning an argument. It is not about proving them wrong. It is not about exposing them to the world. It is about reclaiming your identity, your voice, your worth, and your truth. When you rise above their control, you do not just break a cycle, you break a generational pattern. You break a mental prison. You break a story that was never meant for you. And in that transformation, something extraordinary happens. Your silence becomes strength. Your boundaries become armor. Your clarity becomes freedom. You stop searching for validation from the person who tried to dim your light, and you realize your light never needed their approval to shine. It was always there, waiting for the moment you finally chose yourself. You walk differently now, not with arrogance, but with grounded confidence. The kind of confidence that whispers instead of shouts, holds instead of shakes, builds instead of destroys. The kind of confidence that comes from surviving something that was designed to break you, yet discovering that you were made of something unbreakable. And the world feels that shift. People feel your energy evolve. You carry a presence now, a certainty, a dignity that does not need to defend itself. It announces itself without a word, because true strength is not noise. True strength is a quiet refusal to be what someone else expected you to be. You finally understand that the storm they brought into your life did not weaken you. It forged you. It refined you. It pushed you into the version of yourself who no longer negotiates with disrespect, no longer accepts inconsistent love, no longer bends in places where you were meant to stand tall. You learn that the pain they caused was not your ending, it was your awakening. And now that you have awakened, there is no force in this world that can drag you back into the shadows you fought your way out of. You are done shrinking to make someone else feel larger. You are done carrying the weight of their insecurity on your shoulders. You are done confusing manipulation with love. You are done letting someone else's narrative decide your worth. You have stepped into a new arena now, a place where your healing is your priority, your peace is your anchor, your truth is your compass, a place where the world no longer defines you by what you survived, but by what you became because of it. Rise into that, own that, walk in that, because every time you choose yourself, you build a life they can no longer enter. Every time you honor your boundaries, you create a future they can no longer influence. Every time you trust your intuition, you become someone they can no longer deceive. Your journey is no longer about defeating them. Your journey is about becoming someone who no longer needs their absence to feel whole, because you have learned to create your own wholeness. You have learned that peace is not something someone else gives you. It is something you claim. You have learned that love is not something you beg for. It is something you live in. You have learned that strength is not something you prove. It is something you embody. You stand here now, not as the version of yourself shaped by their manipulation, but as the version of yourself built by your courage. And courage is the one thing a narcissist can never take from you. They can twist your reality, but they cannot steal your soul. They can challenge your sanity, but they cannot bury your truth. They can dim your confidence, but they cannot extinguish your purpose. And your purpose is rising now, louder than fear, stronger than trauma, brighter than doubt. So step forward into the life that was waiting for you. Step forward into the peace that feels like home. Step forward into the strength you earned through fire. Step forward into the version of yourself who survived every manipulation meant to break you. Step forward knowing this truth with every breath you take. Your past is not your prison. It is your proof. Proof that you can be knocked down and rise again. Proof that you can be lied to and still find truth. Proof that you can be underestimated and still become unstoppable. Proof that you can walk away from the person you once thought you could not live without and discover the person you were always meant to be. You are not just surviving, you are becoming. And the world will feel your rise.